Thank you for joining me on the Friday edition of the Marketplace. Let's now settle for the very first story. The General Agricultural Workers Union (GAU) is proposing to government to increase cocoa prices to compensate for the menace of child labor in cocoa production. According to the Cocoa Barometer Report 2018, Ghana and the Ivory Coast alone have 2.1 million children working on various cocoa farms. The report attributes the trend to poverty, increased cocoa production, and a lack of schools and other infrastructure as some of the reasons. Deputy General Secretary of GAU, Andrew Stegu, wants alternative livelihood initiatives enhanced to improve financial capacity of farmers. Nanaya Ojima has been examining interventions for reducing child labor.
About 70% of the worst forms of child labor occurs in agriculture. A government effort to increase agriculture to drive industrialization is expected to come with its own social challenges, including child labor. Mr. Tego proposes creation of child labor-free zones to address the challenge.
One of them, in addressing the child labor in cocoa, we could start with the methodology of creating child labor-free zones, where cocoa extension agents, who are also the agronomic and field school teachers, also add child labor to the curriculum.
Mr. Tego believes providing alternative funding option for farmers in addition to increased cocoa prices is relevant in alleviating poverty among farmers.
Cocoa farmers have always said that it is about income to pay for labor. So whilst we are advocating for increase in global prices, we are also doing what we call alternative livelihoods at the community level. So our job, we bring the cocoa farmers together 1 week or 2 weeks, take them through how the processes of doing the soap with using cocoa byproduct. We work with the Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana and they train our farmers.
Meanwhile, cocoa buying company Kuyapa Cocoa agrees with a proposal from GAU. Compliance supervisor in charge of child labor, Evans Opoku-Mensah, says children still have roles to play in cocoa production.
Parents can do the hazardous activities as well as the children doing the permissible one. You can't do production without the children. If you do that, you're not being fair to them because they have to grow up to become responsible adults. Whatever you are doing, they should be involved in.
Children involved in cocoa farming are not only losing out on education, but their physical growth is also stifled. Negative effects on children have seen industry players take actions to reverse the trend. Mr. Mensah explains some interventions by Kuyapa Cocoa Company.
Also, after the education and trainings, there are audits. We do internal audits to ensure that we follow up on the trainings we've conducted. In a situation where we identify cases of child labor, that is where we go in with our remediation, just to withdraw the child from child labor. And with that one, if, for instance, the child is of school-going age, we make sure that we send the child back to school. Those who are from 15 years, 16, 17, they are not up to 18 years yet. For them, if they can't go back to school, we also put them in skill acquisition training.
Let's turn our attention now to the financial sector, and banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etuahene has criticized the finance minister's request to spend an extra 6.3 billion Ghana cedis for the second half of 2019. Although Parliament has approved the funds requested by Ken Oforiatta during the presentation of the 2019 mid-year review and supplementary budget estimates, Dr. Etuahene says the economy will pay dearly for that. He was speaking on the business edition of PM Express on JoyNews.
I would have thought that financial discipline, he should have stayed, at least stay within what originally he presented. It looks to me that it's too aggressive. The reason why I'm saying that, none of the targets set in the first half was achieved. So I'm wondering what informed decision what decision has he gotten that he's changed that to grow it further than. So I would have advised him to have stayed within what he had earlier and see if we can achieve the taxes to be able to come near the difference between the expenditure and the policy that he's setting around. Now we have lost $500 million, multiplied by whatever rate. It means we've lost about $1.5 billion of revenue. Why is he talking about it now and he never talked about it the last time? Is it negligence or what? I thought that the take and pay, if immediately you came into power, that should have been the first review you should have done.
On his part, CEO of the Private Enterprise Federation, PEF, Nana Osaibunsu, has lamented government's failure to establish an asset recovery institution to deal with non-performing loans within the banking sector. He disclosed that his outfit made the recommendation before the current administration took over, as formation of such an institution will ensure banks are not burdened with bad loans. And also, Osaibunsu says currently Nigeria has a similar structure to deal with bad debts in the financial sector. His comments come on the back of the rising costs of the financial sector cleanup.
Private Enterprise Federation hosted the president-elect to tell us what he has for the future for the private sector. In that report that I actually read in behalf of the industry, we told the government, we asked and requested the president to set up an asset recovery institution to take away all these bulging portfolios. Private Enterprise Federation hosted the president-elect to tell us what he has for the future for the private sector. In that report that I actually read in behalf of the industry, we told the government, we asked and requested the president to set up an asset recovery institution to take away all these bulging portfolio of non-performing loans from the banking system, clean them up and leave them lean to do their business. We offered that because we knew what was happening. But that has not happened. Now, later on down the road, we bring different receivers. Do they have the capacity? Were they part of the system? The auditors, the accountants, and all. These are part of the same group that are being asked to be the receivers for this institution. So we haven't done what needs to be done. Because we had a pre-notice that the things in the system were not working right. And there are ways that asset recovery is not a new thing. Setting aside, buying down the non-performing loans to maybe minuscule amount, 10% discounted or 20%, it can be done. And we asked that. I can bring that documentation, I can publish it, that we asked the president-elect, this is what you can do to clean up the system. That didn't happen. Until now, it's too late. But the efforts in the banking system are in the right direction, no two ways about that. But the other part of the financial sector is what needs to be done. Because unless we do that, we just cut our nose to spite our face, do the banking, and then they let the savings and loans and the asset managers hemorrhage to a point where people's businesses will collapse.
So after the banking sector cleanup, confidence within the financial markets keep waning. However, there seems to be some good news with the launch of a mutual fund known as the Eco Capital Prime Fund. The mutual fund has been introduced into Ghana's capital market to help solve some challenges encountered by investors. A member of the board of Eco Capital Prime Fund, Desmond Abuaji, tells Joy Business the current downturn in the capital market makes the debt market a preferable option for investors.
Generally, looking at the downturn of the equity market, then you get to see that the next alternative for investors is to go to the debt market. So the mutual fund will largely invest in debt instruments, but in this case, the debt instruments they will invest in are short-term in nature, which means that they have maturities of up to a year maximum. So with the downturn, we expect that the next alternative will be the debt market. And if you are a retail investor seeking to do something little with some little money you have for investment, you can look at the Eco Capital Prime Fund to give you that form of. The mutual fund as a setup is a separate entity on its own. So the mutual fund is managed by a fund manager and the assets are kept by a custodian. So the mutual fund itself will have to meet the minimum capital requirement of 500,000 during this IPO period. So with the objective of meeting the 500,000, once that is done, the mutual fund can then look at life after the IPO. So it is expected that during this IPO period, that is from the 30th of August to the 19th of, during this IPO period, that's from the 30th of July to the 19th of August, the fund will be able to raise the minimum 500,000 Ghana cedis required as minimum requirement. And then from there, the fund will look at life after the IPO.
We're so live on the marketplace. It's now time to do some stock market news. And Ekwa Fiji has taken over the leadership of the Ghana Stock Exchange. What does his tenure in office holds for developments on the stock market? Beta Turika joins me with updates of this and the weekly assessment of the market. Beta, you're welcome to the marketplace.
Thank you very much.
So Ekwa Fiji, the former deputy, managing director of the stock market, is now the acting manager of the stock market. Now, let's take a look at his, experience and what he brings on board during his tenure in office.
Okay, let me say that he's been in management position before, or he's always been in management position on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And if you want to look at the Ghana Stock Exchange and compare it to other markets where some of these informations have a very significant impact on the trading that goes on the stock market. But in our case, if you're comparing the Ghana Stock Exchange probably to the London Stock Exchange, the stock market, the Ghana Stock Exchange is not as efficient as that of some other markets, let me put it that way. Okay. Anyway, during the tenure of the past managing director, we noticed that some strategies were taken. We spoke about the Ghana Stock Exchange actually moving away from a company limited by guarantee to a company limited by shares. So, and that's a very good initiative that is expected to be completed by early part of next year. And I'm sure he's come in and he'll make sure that that is implemented. Okay. And aside that too, we also noticed that we are looking forward to see some of the strategies that he would also bring on board to make the Ghana Stock Exchange very vibrant and efficient on the global front.
And there was a drive by his predecessor to increase the capitalization on the markets. Now, do you think there could be some new measures to actually achieve these targets?
Exactly, they can be. And anytime we have this change of leadership, there's so much enthusiasm, there's so much willingness for people to actually, especially the new one, to put in measures to achieve more. You have to do more than what your predecessor did. That's what we are expecting him to do. We expect more from him as compared to what's happened in the past.
Right. Now let's take a look at how the market itself fared this week by way of the equities and the commodities and so
on. So today I wanted to look at the Ghana Stock Exchange critically. We'll be looking at it from Monday, how the stock market has performed till today. Yeah, sure. And this week, let me say, both indices have done so well. They are recording positive week-to-day gains. We've seen some shares trade on the market. From Monday to Monday, we had over 70,000 shares. On Tuesday, we had over 14,000 shares trading. And on Wednesday, we had over 28,000 shares trading on the stock market. And we saw MTN lose a peso on Monday, and also gold came down by 3 pesos on Monday to close at 70 pesos and 2 Ghana cedis, 2 pesos per share. But by close of trade on Wednesday, MTN added 2 pesos again to close at 7 Ghana cedis, 2 pesos per share. And Wednesday happened to be a very good day on the market. We saw both indices, especially for the composite index, it moved up, but there was no change on the financial stock index because we didn't see any financial equity moving on the stock exchange. So the CI went up by 24.75 points to close at 2,346.52 points. And within Monday to Thursday, we saw the worth of the exchange, that's the market capitalization, it went up by 0.03%. Moving from 57,986.99 million Ghana cedis to 58,004.71 million Ghana cedis. So for the year, the market capitalization has dropped by 5.12%. It opened at 61,136.53 million Ghana cedis. And by close of trade yesterday, as we earlier on projected, ETI happens to be the top loser on the market. It lost 8.33%, followed by Benso Oil Palm Plantation. We also saw gains in FML, GCB, and EcoBank. They added up to investors' capital, and FarmMilk happens to be the top leader, the top gainer on the exchange, adding 3.05% to investors' capital. So this is a summary of what's been going on the stock market for this week. And like I mentioned, the week-to-day gain for the composite index is 0.79%, and that of the financial stock index is 1.69%, and the year-to-date is negative 8.89% and negative 4.26% for these indices on the market.
Now, would you be able to update us on the commodities, how they fared?
Well, before I even come to that, maybe our viewers want to know what is currently happening on the stock market and what we should expect. Now, currently, MTN is already down by 1 peso on the exchange, and it's the most traded equity now on the market, trading over 127,000 shares on the exchange, and we also have Total trading 14,400 shares, and Fanmok 100, ETI 33, Societe Generale 3,800. So we have ETI is down by 1 peso and MTN is also down by 1 peso, and Fanmok has gone up by 1 peso on the stock market. And if you look at the top losers and gainers on the exchange, these are the two equities that we can talk about currently on the stock exchange. And from the beginning of the year till now, MTN is the most traded equity on the market, trading over 52 million shares on the market.
That's impressive.
Very impressive. But if you look at the performance of MTN over the last 10 days, it's lost 4 pesos and added 4 pesos. So it started the past 10th day at 72 pesos. It is now 72 pesos. So within this period, it's gone up to 71, it's gone to 70 pesos, and we've seen that change in the equity. For this year, MTN has already lost about 8% of its share price, and if you look at the last 6 months, it's lost about 5.26%, and in 1 year, it's lost 4% on the exchange.
What about the currencies? I mean, how is the
well, the local currency has been relatively stable. As I mentioned, I've been talking about, we are not seeing very significant depreciations or appreciations on the CD against major trading currencies on the interbank market, especially the dollar is still about 5.25 Ghana cedis to $1. So we haven't seen, we haven't seen very significant changes when it comes to the performance of the CD against major trading partners on the interbank market.
All right, thank you very much, Bertha Atubiga, for that update. Researcher Bertha Atubiga bringing us up to speed with some developments on the Ghana Stock Exchange from Monday right through to Friday. It's still on the marketplace now, and we're going to turn our attention to other stories now. And the U.S. Ghana Chamber of Commerce will organize the 3rd edition of the Global Women's Professional and Business Exchange Conference in Accra from October 2 to 6, 2019. The conference is expected to bring together business and professional women from all over the world to engage and leverage their experiences in the fields of healthcare, finance, legal business, and education. Joining me on phone right now is the chairman of the board of directors of the U.S. Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Florence Dawson, from the United States, with some updates. Florence, you're welcome to the marketplace.
Thank you, Manuel. Thank you for having me.
All right. So quickly tell us more about this particular edition of the conference.
So this edition is generally an improvement of what we had last year. Last year, the conference was very well attended. And so some of the feedback we had after the conference was to sort of like expand the conference. It was interesting to have people there from 9 to 6 and still wanted more. And so this time we are going to add additional speakers. We also realized that we did not have enough people to do the mentoring section. So we're also going to increase the one-on-one coaching that we did, and also partner with some of the local companies in Ghana so that people can have both a local and an international resource.
Now, what is going to be the theme for this year's event?
So this year the theme is Breakthrough to Excellence. So we think that it is important because now we've done the first conference. We have given people some additional skills. We want to be able to help them to get to the next level. So the theme for this year is Breakthrough to Excellence.
Now, I know because we spoke earlier before, but there's going to be some emphasis on sickle cell. Could you enlighten us a little about that?
Yeah, so every time we have the conference, we don't just want to come in and give people skills. We also want to do something that impacts the society at large. So we have a philanthropic cause for each conference that we have. So for last year, we had a sickle cell panel to talk about sickle cell. You know, sickle cell is a disease that impacts a lot of us, either directly or indirectly. But from a business standpoint, because of the toll it takes on the family, in terms of when a kid has a crisis or something, you find that usually most women are taken out of their employment for days to care for a loved one. So when we did that, it was very well, we realized the need to increase the information that we're giving out on sickle cell. And so for this year, we have officially adopted sickle cell as our official philanthropic cause for the conference. And so I know that the Sickle Cell Foundation in Ghana, working with partners like Novartis and other people, to implement the newborn screening program in Ghana. And also there are a lot of new exciting treatments that would help, especially the mothers who tend to take care of these babies. So if they can have access to those treatments, overall it's a thing from an economic and business standpoint. So we'll be talking about newborn screening saves lives, and we'll have a sickle cell panel to do that.
All right, many thanks for that update. Florence Dawson Hart joining us live on phone from the United States of America and bringing us up to speed with the upcoming events of the Global Women Professional Conference, which is scheduled to take place in Accra from the 2nd of October to the 6th of October this year. Now, Minister of Tourism Barbara Otin-Gyasi has assured tourists that roads leading to key tourist sites in the country will be constructed and upgraded as part of initiatives to push the sector as a second foreign exchange earner. According to her, this will impact positively to the development of the sector. Her assurance follows an announcement by the Finance Minister Kendo Furiata that government will fix all deplorable roads across the country.
The road network that he touched on, several roads are going to be done. And for me, this is important because in the tourism industry, if the industry is going to thrive, it also depends on the roads. Because if the roads to the various sites are in a deplorable state, it doesn't attract people to visit the sites. So a good road network will impact the tourist numbers to our sites, and through that will generate more foreign exchange. Currently, foreign exchange earnings from tourism is about the 4th for the country. But if we take certain critical actions, we can improve on this to even get to the 2nd position. And for me, it's interesting that so many roads are going to be done, especially as a member of parliament for Prisia Huni Valley. Western region town roads were touched on under the Sino Hydro, and I know that the Prisia town roads is one of the roads that are going to be done in the Western region under the phase 1. So I'm excited about that.
And that was the Tourism Minister Barbara Otin-Gyasi ending this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. Many thanks for your company and do enjoy a great weekend. Good afternoon.